Hey everyone, Fatty from Pack a Punch Traders here. Gonna go over my trade on the day as well as the top plays for tomorrow. Um, CNTB here. This was from the watch list yesterday. Was one of the top plays. Was looking for a 140 breakout for a test of at least the 170s. If there was demand, I did acknowledge how the float was not that small. Um, but we had some decent volume coming in, but not enough to really give us a strong move into the high ones, but still gave us an opportunity to capture roughly 10% here. So the way I traded this was pretty much as this kept holding open price and VWAP. I took a starter, 500 shares here at 135, and then it kept pushing. And from there, I just wanted to see how it made a higher low, held the breakout level at 140, as well as continued to hold VWAP. And I like the way it held up. There was decent demand on the push higher. And if we zoom in, there was a minute where it did have some selling, but besides that, there was light selling pressure as it kept holding up around 140. So I added 1,500 shares at 143, bringing my average up to 141. And from there, we got a strong push, got strong demand coming through. And if you were watching this had a hard time around the 153, 154 region. And I was getting a little antsy, wanting to sell. It was getting close to 10%. And I just wanted to be out as I was up a decent amount in a short period of time. Just wanted to lock in a quick single as we are approaching into the 160s area where I figured we might have some hard time if there were some shorts here or any bag holders that might weigh this thing down if it gets close to the 170s. Um, so when it had a hard time in the low 150s, I just got a bit antsy and it broke through to 155, but was a bit choppy, didn't really peel off like I had in mind, like I thought would happen. I thought if it really held 150 and kept making new highs, that would trigger shorts to get squeezed even higher. But that didn't happen, and I just instantly sold it. So 141 to 154 on 2,000 shares, not too bad, just under 10%. Can't complain about it. And that was it for me on the day. I did come back later on and check this thing out, see if it was holding up, could possibly squeeze higher. And although we did get some higher lows, it did hold the open price, the day low. It did have some bullish indicators, but if you can take a look here, there really was no volume. We did get a perk, but relative to what was going on in the morning, we saw what kind of volume was needed to give this a push from the 120s to the 150s. This kind of low volume was probably just a little fake out, as we can see here. In hindsight, pretty clear. It just dumps. But yeah, that's all it was for me this morning. So a little disappointed it didn't take off, but at the same time, I'm glad I read it correctly and just took my quick gains. Had a nice little starter, sized up when it was looking good, and just dumped it when it was it was slowing down when I expected it to really break through. So my expectations were broken, and I was lucky enough to have the opportunity to sell before it dumps, as I had a pretty good sell right near the high. So CNTB, a little disappointing, but grateful was able to play it nice. Um, there was ALLR. This was a nice play this morning. If you were able to catch that with the open price VWAP per claim, here we are at 15.8. Solid gap up, decent pullback here in this case, but ends up holding. Volume completely dies off. All the selling pressure goes away. Starts climbing back a little, and this is where it gets interesting. Makes a higher low, holds up right around VWAP and the open price, and from there, shorts just get squeezed. You get all this buying coming through, and it rips from 16.23 in a pretty short amount of time, considering how much it ran. In about half an hour. So, not too bad right here. I did not see this. I was too focused on CNTB, and when I was done with that, I decided to just call it a day. But yeah, so ALLR was a nice mover. Same thing with LYLT. This one I completely underestimated, but at the same time, I don't really see an angle that I could play. Like, there was a pattern, don't get me wrong, but the way this set up, it just the way I trade, there was never really a consolidation period where I can play off the ranges. You got pre-market, yeah, but I really like at the open after 10 15 minutes, maybe even longer. Just let the play develop, let the shorts and um, just sellers and buyers battle it out and play off the range. And when it starts breaking out, as we saw with a LLR, you get a nice short squeeze when expectations are broken on the short side and buyers come back as well when they see this bullish action, and you get this kind of move. So that's why with LYLT I just didn't see a great opportunity to enter, but nonetheless a fantastic move. Would be excited to play this as a bounce, going from 8.5 pretty much to 29. Absolutely insane. So that'll be exciting to play as a bounce. This one already here was kind of a bounce off of this day. Um, but this one here gave percentage wise what I'm looking for. So kind of a busy morning. Not much after that, really. After hours, there was an insane mover. Which one was it? Oh, BSFC. That was a nice play here. First green day, solid after hours action. But the one I'm thinking of, CISO. Looks like it had earnings or something. Let's see, quarterly revenue. Yeah, and a monster move from pretty much 20 all the way up to 92. So I'm going to let this one play out and let it do its thing. I'm just going to wait for the dip buy opportunity. I don't know. Obviously, it can keep going higher and higher, but considering it was just at 20 cents and it already burst all the way to 90, I am not sure how much higher it can go. Maybe 1.5, who knows? So I'll just let it do its thing, not get emotional about the play. It was missed, it's whatever, but at least we got another pattern that could set up for this thing. So we'll let this thing figure out what it wants to do, and maybe late this week, early next week, we get a possible dip buy opportunity. Um, but yeah, we'll just wrap it up there with today. I guess the key takeaway was with CNBT recognizing volume, when to trade it and when to not. As you can see in the morning, solid demand supporting this thing, leading the squeeze higher, but also recognizing that a play like this, with the volume it was doing, it I know it doesn't have that low of a float, but when you're breaking past a key psychological level, I am expecting more of a burst, and that wasn't happening. So, read that properly, and just glad that worked out. So, let's move on to the top plays for tomorrow. Get rid of that. So, we got INM. This one is a mover from today. Another nice open price VWAP reclaim here. You get the nice gap up. Shorts think it's going to fail. Fails to break down. And you get demand coming back, the squeeze, buyers coming back. It's everything we talked about with ALLR. So here in this case, just going to look for a failure to break down as we have a breakout around 1.5. It's a low float play doing some decent volume. If we get a continuation of this kind of volume and failure to break down, reclaim of the high 160s, 170 region, we can possibly see a squeeze to the next key area, which is going to be 2 whole dollar, half dollar level. But then after that, you got the 220s. So there is a little bit of range to play with this thing, but we'll have to see how it sets up tomorrow. If we get a gap up, or maybe it has a red to green move, and then that sets it up to push to the 160s, and then from there it fails to break down, and we get another squeeze higher. So just keep this on watch for the continuation over 168 for test of 2. AIMD. This one here, still on watch, looking for that multi-day bounce. Slowing down a bit here, and volume completely dying off. Oh yeah, big time. So we'll see if this has the fuel for that reversal, short stocking and profits. But this is setting up pretty well so far. So we'll just keep an eye on this now for failure to break down and start reclaiming VWAP, pushing to new highs instead of breaking down the morning range to new lows, using VWAP as resistance, weak volume. Yeah, things I've mentioned many times going over this pattern. Yeah, so AIMD, multi-day bounce, same deal with THMO. Showing a little bit of a hold here in the low 4s. We'll see how this sets up. Very low float. Won't need a whole ton of volume to get it moving. But here we are again. Similar setup. You get the push higher. You get shorts taken over. And we're just looking for that reversal when dip buyers come back and shorts start locking in profits, which shows as buying. So yeah, decent start to the week. We'll try and continue this momentum. But yeah, decent action today in the market. We'll see if we get that again. A couple decent movers with LYLT, CISO, ALLR, INM, BSFC. So a little bit more action coming into the week, which is exciting. We'll see if we get more of that tomorrow. If not, study up. But if we get some action, just remember, focus on price action and volume together. Don't just isolate one of them. Line up all your bullish indicators. Make sure you have tight risk. You respect that risk. If it doesn't work out, cut the play. Take your quick gains. And